Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Friday, October the 4th, 2024. Now, before we get rolling again, I would like to make a plea out to everybody out there in the YouTube universe. If you haven't made a donation to the American Red Cross to help the victims from Hurricane Helene, here is a QC code if you want to go ahead and scan that real quick and make a donation. Of course, the folks all the way from Florida all the way up into the Carolinas could really use your help. So please take advantage of this and go ahead and make a donation if you don't mind. All right, let's go take a look at our weather headlines for today as we're going to be tracking a pretty nice cool Canadian high pressure will be coming in across the eastern third of the United States. Not looking too bad there. We're going to talk about some East Coast big swells. Yeah, that big hurricane out in the Atlantic. It's going to be sending some pretty big waves coming into the East Coast here, coming into this upcoming weekend. And then we're also going to talk about a little bit of an unusual tropical development that's happening. I'll explain why here in just a second. Now, if you're new to the channel, first I want to do is thank you for subscribing. And if you're a part of that 50% who have not yet subscribed to the channel, yeah, I said it twice, go ahead, please go hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you like what you see, leave a comment, give me a thumbs up down below. I truly do appreciate your support. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at our latest satellite imagery as we've got some rain and a few thunderstorms here across portions of Illinois this morning with a frontal boundary coming up there. Got some rain, a little unsettled weather here across the Gulf Coast states back toward Louisiana, but most of the country pretty quiet. Got a storm system out here off the West Coast, and of course we'll be watching closely what's going to go on down there in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico over the next several days. Here is your surface map as we got this frontal boundary. Again, we got a little of that rain near the Chicagoland area here. Not too bad up here in the 30s and 40s across the high plains, but a lot of 60s, still pretty mild here in the south in the 70s, and not too bad up in New York City, sitting in the 50s, and not bad out here most of the west, except for that approaching new storm system out here. We got some rains going into Seattle here for this morning. All right, let's go look at some of those thunderstorms here across portions of Illinois. There, you see the rain coming on through. A nice little cluster of thunderstorms here. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning here down to the south of Burlington. But again, these storms will continue to move off toward the east, about 15 to 20 miles per hour, putting in some pretty decent rains. But we're not expecting any really bad organized severe weather with this. But we do have that one little isolated severe thunderstorm warning here for this morning. Let's look at your National Weather Service here. Current hazards, watch some warnings. Pretty quiet. You do see some of that freeze warning action starting to come on in here. Pretty windy up here in the high plains and across portions of the Intermountain region. And we do have some heat here across portions of California as well here expected for today. Now, our weather city of the day is St. Augustine, Florida. Not a bad day to go ahead and do a little bit of fishing here, although you may have to dodge some rain jackets, or rainfall, I should say. You might need the rain jackets here as we're looking at about a 40% chance of seeing some scattered showers today. High temperature today of right around 85 degrees. And hey, if you'd like to nominate your city as the weather city of the day, you got a good webcam in your area, or perhaps you got a YouTube channel nearby, a camera nearby, go ahead and post that link down below. We'll go ahead and potentially use it for a future broadcast. All right, let's go ahead and switch gears. We're going to take a look over here from the Storms Prediction Center and see if we got anything to be concerned about over the next 3 days as we're getting ready to head into your weekend here, as we're going to be looking at your day one outlook here from the Storms Prediction Center. Right now, we're just kind of showing a chance of thunderstorms. That's probably the big thing here, but nothing of severe, not to that criteria. So you got the general thunderstorm threat, as you saw there this morning there across portions of Illinois. And of course, might get some here going into the south along the Gulf Coast and down across Florida. I need to watch out for that. As we go into our day two outlook here, again, not expecting anything too much to be too concerned about. Just again, a couple of pockets here and there that we got to watch, as you can see here across the Great Lakes, right through there, and right along the Gulf Coast. We've got some action there to watch, and down through Florida with some potential rumbles of thunder. But again, nothing severe. And as we go to our day three, that trend continues, although that boundary begins to shift a little bit further to the east, as you can see here with that, beginning to shift that activity a little bit further off toward the east there, kind of getting into the northeast and down to the Intermountain region. And then, of course, we've got there right along the Gulf Coast to watch as well. But at least for now, no organized severe weather here expected for your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So your weekend is looking pretty good there overall there for most of the country. Let's look at your looking at your days 3 through 7 hazards outlook. Just a couple of things to kind of watch here is we've got obviously we've got some cold air. You got the little pockets here dealing with some of the cold air that's going to be coming in there. So freezing. We're getting into October. It's not unusual to see that. Of course, the southeast here down there in Florida has to be watched for some heavier rains down there, especially with the tropical influence potentially coming into there, and it's dealing with the extreme heat out here in the southwest as well into the California area. That is also potential here over the next 3 to 7 days. Now, the tropics, they remain quite busy, and these are the zones we're going to be watching here for potentially for some active severe weather. Still going to be looking at mostly there into out in the Atlantic for the next week, and also the Gulf of Mexico there and through there. And then this continues from the 16th to the 22nd. We're getting deeper. Only going to be another, we got another month and a half of basically the tropics have to really worry about. And things will start beginning to settle down, but it's just going to be very, very slow, especially with everything going on right now. We have 2 active storms out there, that being Kirk and Leslie. Kirk's a Cat 4 right now, and Leslie's a tropical storm, although she's expected to also potentially become a major hurricane as we go through the next several days. So I was thinking we were going to get up to near Oscar, and I think we may get close to that. Who knows? We may actually go by it 1 or 2. We'll see how it works out here over the rest of the hurricane season. Here's the current outlook right now. We've been talking about this, seems like for days, about this potential development there out into the Caribbean. So we're still watching that zone for development. There's our other 2 named storms out there right now. We can look at the satellite imagery here, kind of look at the big picture here. And I want to go ahead and put this into put it into motion here for you a little bit. Can we kind of talk about what's going on out there? The unusual event I was talking about here, and I do want to highlight this, is the fact that we've got what was a tropical depression that's going to be making a journey over across the area there of the Caribbean. So it's going across the Mexico and moving into the Gulf of Mexico for potential development. So that's one of the areas that I'm kind of watching. You just don't see it very often happen. So it's crossing right through there and making a journey across, and then that depression perhaps becoming a storm, what's left of that depression becoming a tropical storm, or potentially maybe a Cat 1. I don't know if we'll get to Cat 1, but at least tropical storm. They're going into the Gulf of Mexico. So something to watch there over the next several days. And obviously, we got our big boy out here in the Atlantic. He's the one that's going to be responsible for the heavy wave action. I'm going to show you the model on that here in just a second. And of course, we got Leslie out here as well. So that's what's going on out there. Again, as I go ahead and take this forward, as you can see, the storm just kind of churning out there, and Leslie getting itself better organized, and we got another wave there off the coast of Africa to watch. So those are our 4 zones that we're kind of watching here on the forecast. Obviously, we're watching the Gulf. We're going to watch this storm's going to go like this, and I think Leslie's going to pretty much follow the same path, and then we got another disturbance there coming off the coast of Africa. So still staying pretty busy out in the tropics for right now. Let's take a look at the latest here on Kirk. Boy, I tell you, Kirk is a bad boy. Bad boy. He is a Category 4, top winds up to 145 miles per hour. Look at the eye on that thing. Very organized. I don't know if it's going to flirt with Cat 5 or not. I have to get up to above 156 to get that, but this thing is meaning some business. Thankfully, it is staying well out in the Atlantic, and we don't have to worry about that. But again, anybody going to the beaches this weekend might need to watch out for that. I know it's fall, but still some folks heading to the beaches like the Carolina coast or anything need to watch out for that wave action. It's going to be quite significant. Here's the path again, making that big turn on out to sea. Should begin to weaken here as we go into next week. It goes from major hurricane status by Sunday and starts to weaken back down as it gets into the cooler waters of the northern Atlantic. So again, just watch out for the wave action. That's going to be the most significant thing to watch out there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the eSense ensemble model. This kind of looks at the blend of different models here, and you can get an idea of what's going on here with everything that's progressing with these systems right now. So kind of let that loop on through here. I'm going to go ahead and step you through this here one at a time. Let's go ahead and stop that. Again, we're kind of watching those several zones. You clearly can see them causing what's going to be causing our issues out there, as we've got the one little one here in the Gulf of Mexico. Obviously, this one out here is Kirk. Here's Leslie, and then here's our other little disturbance there coming off the coast. So let's take this forward here. You can watch again, Kirk just taking off like a banshee across the Atlantic there real fast. Leslie's going to follow its path as well, and then we're kind of watching what's going to happen with the system that's coming in behind out here in the Caribbean. A lot of them are pretty good agreement. We're going to get something that's going to form down in here and go across the area there of the Florida peninsula. and probably some pretty heavy rains. It's just a question of how strong that thing's going to be. I know some of the guidance models were going real crazy with it yesterday, so I don't believe that's going to be the case here. But I think we're going to look at some pretty good heavy rains here across South Florida that will need to be watched there as we go into early next week. So we're going to take this all the way out as you kind of see things kind of moving on out into the Atlantic. And we got those two systems out there to watch. But other than that, that's about it. So let's go ahead and switch over to the model data here. We'll look at the European model. We'll go ahead and track you through this here. Again, we're looking at the sea surface pressure anomaly map here as we'll be tracking these systems coming on through. Of course, here is Kirk out here. This one's Leslie. And then, of course, we're watching the pressure to see what they do down here in the Gulf of Mexico as we go through the weekend. So as we go through the weekend, that's begins to move on off. Leslie starts to see its pressure falls. Leslie starts to fall. Starts to see its pressure start to come up a bit as it starts the weekend. Then we got that system there approaching there of the South Florida here. European's not that strong, tropical storm the way it is right now, and I do favor the European model right now. So we'll see what happens with that as we go into the middle of next week as that goes on by. And then we see another storm there potentially forming off the coast there. So we at least got Mitch coming at us, and then perhaps the end storm will follow it as it goes out into to the Atlantic. So that's what it's looking like right now on the 10-day on the European model. Let's go ahead and switch over. I want to show you again that wave action. Again, watch this. You can clearly see it's like a big rock in the pond. Look at these big heavy waves here really coming into the east coast of the United States. So we're talking getting over to 14 to 16-foot waves here coming in all up and down the eastern seaboard, especially across the Carolinas and coming through the Outer Banks. Some very, very heavy wave action generated from Hurricane Kirk that's out there. So once that goes on by, we'll see that begin to settle down. But through the weekend, especially on Sunday, watch out for that wave action if you're planning on going anywhere up and down the East Coast along the beaches there as we go through this weekend. So that's just something to look out for. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the jet stream pattern over the continental United States here as we're looking again at the European model. We're looking at that river of air that kind of drives the weather across the country. We're still tracking that cooler shot coming down here as we go toward Tuesday. You clearly see that dip in the jet stream there as we're going to bring in the cooler air down here. Again, ridging here in the west, which means warmer temperatures. Going to see above normal temperatures really kind of maintaining out there in the western portion of the United States. And as we go through time, it begins to lift up. Temperatures will begin to moderate. And then we got another little system here coming in off the west coast going into next Friday. You can see the dip in the jet stream there. That'll bring some rains into portions of California and going into the northeast, the Pacific Northwest, I should say, going into the end of this model run. And then we got another dip here coming down here. Look at that, boom, we got another little shot here, probably coming down here, going in beyond the 10 days. So we're going into Sunday, going into the 14th and going into the 15th with another cool shot expected to come down after that. So let's go ahead and switch over to now the precipitation mode here. We're going to go in a little bit closer, look at the continental United States. Most of the country is pretty dry. We're going to have some wet weather here. Obviously, we got that rain making out here on the west coast. We're watching this little unsettled weather here along the Gulf Coast here going throughout the day on your Friday. But as we go through the weekend, most of the country is pretty quiet. That energy in Washington State goes up into Canada there, and then we'll see that system kind of ride along the Canadian border, and then boom, it brings in some of that rain there across portions of the Great Lakes going into Sunday as that thing is racing. It's really falling right along that jet stream, giving it a push, and it's going to dive down here a little bit, bringing some rains here across portions of the Northeast. So this will be going into your Monday morning. Look at some wet and rainy weather there across areas of Vermont, New Hampshire, down toward New Jersey, getting some rains there. South Florida, obviously still continuing with the rains with the old boundary there, and watching this tropical system out here to see if it's going to get its act together or not. And as we go forward, again, most of the country pretty quiet except for that system that's going to be clearing the Northeast. Although when you see this blue in here, you see the 540 line, you know you got some cold air coming up there into the Northeast. Here's our tropical system. Is that going to be Mitch? Well, we'll see. As that kind of moves in here on the heading toward the middle of the week, going toward Wednesday, and that'll quickly move across the area. It'll dump a lot of heavy rains though as that moves on through. But look at the country here going into the following Friday. I mean, there's barely anything going on at all. Got a little bit of rain activity up here in the Northeast, but other than that, it's pretty quiet. This looks like a very typical October pattern, to be honest with you. That's how it's looking right now. So as this goes on through, and then we get that other shot that comes down. You can see another. See that blue? See, that's the 540 line. That's another cold shot here coming down here as we go into the following weekend, going in towards Sunday. All right, let's go ahead and take a look now at the precipitation mode here. I'm going to go ahead and run you through this again. Most of the country is going to stay on the dry side, folks. So that's just the way that's going to be. Got that rain going in here across the Great Lakes in the Northeast. Obviously, we get the rain here across South Florida, which is going to be quite extensive at once, especially once that tropical system moves into that zone as we go beyond that. So again, you can see where the heaviest rains are definitely going to be down here in the Southeast. Decent rains here across the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. But again, most of the country staying high and dry. Let's go in a little bit closer here to the Southeast. We'll talk about the rainfall amounts there into Florida. And yeah, we're looking at anywhere from 5 upwards to 9 inches of rain there across South Florida through there. And some rainy weather here along the Gulf Coast. And marginal rainfall events there for parts of the Southeast, but nothing significant. At least the good news is the weather remains good for the cleanup efforts there across Georgia, South Carolina, and into South Carolina as well from the cleanup from Helene. That will be able to continue there, although they may have to dodge some raincoats along the Florida Gulf Coast, which is still cleaning up from Helene as well. So let's look at your temperature anomaly here. Again, we're going to be looking at, you see that blue in the grain, your temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler, obviously, going in here throughout the day on Saturday because of rain and clouds. We're going to bring it down there across the Northwest and a little bit here along the Gulf Coast. But most of the country, they see a lot of that red. That means we're seeing temperatures running above normal for this time of year, and that's going to continue. Although we got that nice little cool shot coming down here. Doesn't look quite as robust as it did on earlier runs, but clearly, as we go into Tuesday, you can see how the eastern third of the United States is going to see temperatures running a little bit below average, although about here in the west, it is still looking pretty warm and with above normal temperatures out there. And as we take this through, again, that blue will kind of hang on into Tuesday and into Wednesday. Wednesday looking pretty cool there, and then Thursday morning, you see that green. You know, it's going to be pretty crisp here across portions of Ohio, switching back over toward Pennsylvania, but above normal temperatures for a lot of the west. That's going to continue right into your Thursday and into Friday. But look how warm this is out here going into Friday. Look at this. I mean, wow, we're talking unseasonably warm from the Intermountain region right out into the high plains with some very, very warm temperatures out there. And as we go to the end of this model run, we should see the hints of that next little cold shot coming down. Yeah, there it is, kind of showing up here late on Sunday. This will be kind of progressing down to the southeast, and should be cooling it down across the eastern third of the United States as we go into the following week with some of the changes there. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this all up together. Let's look at the climate outlook, see if it kind of mimics what we're seeing here with the model data here. And that is basically what we're seeing here as, again, most of the west going from the 9th to the 13th above normal temperatures, below normal here across the East Coast as we look at your 6 to 10 day outlook there. Days 8 through 14, again, keeping it below average along the East Coast, but 2/3 of the country still looking at or even 3/4 of the country still looking at temperatures running above average. And we saw how warm it was looking out here going out toward the 10-day mark. So very warm indeed out here as we go from the 11th to the 17th. Precipitation-wise, it is very dry. October traditionally is a dry month, except, of course, South Florida, different indication here, obviously, with that tropical influence. Got a storm system out here on the west coast here, the 9th to the 13th. And then the 11th to the 17th, again, bulk of the country looking pretty dry. Typical October weather here with below normal precipitation expected, except for just a couple little pockets there with above normal precipitation. All right, that is going to do it here on your forecast here for today. Again, we're going to continue to watch and see what happens out in the tropics. Obviously, we're going to see if that M storm is going to be an issue for us in the Gulf of Mexico or not. Right now, like I said, the European model is only coming up to about a tropical storm strength on that. But if that should change, obviously, we're going to stay up on this and make sure to keep you informed to let you know if I need to raise the red flag and say, hey, watch out for this one. This one could be a major player. But right now, it looks like we're just kind of in a typical October pattern and waiting to see as we get deeper into the fall whether we're going to have an active severe weather season, which sometimes happens as we go into the month of November. And, looking forward to seeing what the winter has in store for us as well. Well, hey, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do me the favor. Go hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you like this report, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. It always helps with the YouTube algorithm, especially when you're trying to grow a nice weather channel here in the YouTube universe. All right, that is your update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.